Mind the gap.
Hi Fabrizia, how you doing?
Hi, I'm okay. How you go?
You're just okay. I mean, give us some enthusiasm. What's up?
No, I'm very okay. Well, it's a busy time, and but it's also a very exciting time. All sorts of new things are coming up. All sorts of new projects, courses, um, photos. Um, I'm putting together an album for a big competition, so that's exciting and scary. There's so many different aspects to our work that sometimes I forget what I'm doing. I have lists.
Yeah. So I hear you're busy, right? That's
I'm very busy. Actually, this really ties in with, I think, today's topic
yeah.
because it's about managing our life, our work, our time. People say time management, but there's no such thing as time management. You cannot manage time, but you can manage work.
Okay, don't spill the beans. Well, we'll get into this slowly. Don't just give us the conclusion that people will just sign off because they heard it all. No, let's. Yeah, we're busy, right? Everybody's busy, and we use this. Sometimes it's an excuse, and I would also like to just tie into what we were saying in the previous episode where we talked about quantity versus quality, about how doing a quantity of work leads to quality. But of course, in order to put in a lot of work, to make that amount of work that can breed quality, it requires time. And we don't have time. Sometimes we feel like we don't have time. We don't have enough time. We're overwhelmed by the huge number of commitments we have, whether we are professionals with photography or even if we are maybe just amateurs that we're trying to grow our art, our passion into maybe something more. We realize that it takes time. And it's hard to find because we have a family, we have another job, we have commitments, we have friends to go out, we have the Netflix to watch. The latest series on Netflix demands our time and so on. So it's really hard. We're busy, and I know every time we have to record these episodes that we do, we need to find the time to do these recordings.
Yeah,
It's
and
hard,
every
right?
time is a bit of a miracle. But yes. What I really started to study this topic because it was important for me because I am active on so many different fronts and I do so many different things. And at the same time, I travel a lot. I'm not at home. I need to, make sure I have an internet connection when I do some things or some other things. And there's a lot of time spent traveling, meeting people, going out and doing stuff. So that was important to me to not get burnout because that's the risk. You starting, well, everything is so exciting, everything is so but and then you go like, oh my god, how am I gonna do this? Everything's late, deadlines. There's this fantastic Douglas Adams Ansel Adams
I know that
Douglas
Adams.
Adams quote that I love, and he said, I love deadlines. I love the swishing sound they make as they go by. And I think of that often because sometimes they go woof off. Oh God, that was yesterday. That thing. So being organized and doing a lot of work, it's necessary to be organized in some way. And so I started, trying to figure out how we can fit everything in. And I've come to some conclusions and some tips and tricks of the trade that I can share now. And I share in my courses. And actually, I do a lot of coaching on time and overwhelm and, organizing work and all that.
Good. I will want to listen to you for most of this episode because I'm really bad at this. I mean, people tell me and ask me how do you find the time to do all the things that you do, because I realize I do a lot of things. I have maybe one trick, but I've been reading about time management, routines, organization, habits, and so on. and I read a lot about it, and I never put any of that in practice. I'm really bad at organizing my time. Maybe I'm good at a little thing that helps you with that, but I don't have. I mean, I have my calendar set up, daily routines, like set some time aside for email, set some time aside for workout, set some time aside for this and that. And then invariably I never follow that. Something happens and I move it around. But still I think I still manage to do quite a lot of work. So I cannot claim I'm an expert in organizing my time, but you're probably more... you studied the topic more than I do. You're more successful than I am at this. So I'll listen what you have to say.
The thing is that I think the first thing, and I don't know if this episode is going to have a lot of, actual how to do it, because the main thing about managing your time or managing the work it's a mindset thing. So I know that, there's a lot of stuff out there about, do this, do it this way, do it that way. And of course, there's a lot of, like tips and tricks and things that you can do to make things happen. And there are systems to get organized and to work better and to work smarter and to work less, because I believe you should work less and achieve more. And that's a whole other thing, but there are ways to do it. But mainly you have to start with the perspective of how you look at things. Otherwise, there's just going to be another ton of things to do. Learn how to do this. It's another thing to do. And you never get there. And that's why most people can't put these things into practice. And then they're frustrated. And then they think, oh, this doesn't work for me. Well, the tip is actually useful, except you don't have the mindset to implement it because you are not seeing the right thing in this problem. What I really wanted to do and to study this for was because I see people getting overwhelmed and burnt out and dropping what they're doing or not doing it as well as they could, thinking that they've taken on too much or their ambition is too high. And so, then you back off the dream, thinking it's unattainable because it's too much work. I want to write that book. I want to take those photos. I want to do that body of work. And I can't do it because it's too much. It's too hard. It's unattainable. But that is not true. It's not what we take on, but how we take it on. And so we can really do anything if we tackle it the right way. Now, of course, there is the more responsibility we take, whether it's our work or our hobbies or whatever it is that we want to do, because this is not really for photographers, this is for every human being on this planet that has a job. As you take on more responsibility, there is growth, there is change, there is struggle, there's uncertainty, and so there is some kind of, that is what makes us feel a bit overwhelmed. And then, we lose contact with our breath. First thing, you start, if you think of all the pressure, that's what it's called, pressure, It's pressure on you to do all these things. And the first thing, if you think of that, what you feel is like you're not breathing deeply. You're not breathing enough. We start to feel compressed, and that's when our brain stops working properly. So physically, there is something that we need to take care of when we want to tackle this problem. And then the way we think about things really makes a big difference.
I find it that when I'm overwhelmed and I have too many things to do, I'll just need to disconnect, just to get out, go on a walk, go running or something. And I know I have commitments, I know I have things to do, I know I have deadlines, but as Douglas Adams said, let them swoosh by for a little bit. I mean, maybe you just need to realize that sometimes it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't do everything at the very moment you think you need to do it. I don't know how to put it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we get into is our ego, of our own expectations. rather than just being in a sort of spirit of flow, I like to call it, when everything, we do a lot of work, but we're in that flow and it's not heavy and it's not pressurized. When we get into this thing that is, and then the talk in our minds is like, I must do all of these things myself. All of these things are necessary. I'm the only one who can do them well. Mm-hmm. Everything is necessary now, and everything needs to be done perfectly. And there are so many things in these, like we will talk in the future about perfectionism and all of these other things that we're not going to talk about now. But really, this is what causes us to get overwhelmed. Everything is on my shoulder right now. It needs to be done today. It needs to be done the way I want it. It needs to be done by me, and all of these things. While in essence, there's a lot that we don't need to do and we can choose not to do. And that's the first thing.
So is that just convincing oneself that we don't have to do all of that? Or there are some tricks, something that you use to get into that mindset of shedding off responsibilities?
Well, the thing is, like, as with everything else, it's not really just what you have to do, but how you want to be in order to do what you have to do. I choose to be, I want to work. I want to do everything that I want to do. I want to achieve certain goals. I want to do certain things, but I want to enjoy doing it. I don't want to work, spit blood doing what I do. I want to really enjoy what I'm doing. And most of the times I do. Some things are not particularly enjoyable. There are some bits of our work that we may not enjoy fully, but most of the times I enjoy the journey as much as getting to the destination. And I think I want my life to be enjoyable. And because we work so many hours in a day, then that's really, really important. So to really focus on how we do things and what we say yes to, and remember that when we say yes to something, we're always saying no to something else, right? So if we say yes, some people say yes to so many things and they have so many commitments, some because of ego, because some things feel good that they asked me to do this. And so I will say yes, it feels good that they asked me to be the president of this or that or the other thing. But really, that is our normal life. There's all sorts of things that come at us. And if we're in the habit of saying yes to many things, we don't realize we're saying no to many other things. And the first things that go out the window are our personal things, because we always put ourselves last. The hobby, the photography, the project, person is not important. And you never write that book and you never get that body of work done because you don't have time, but because you said yes to other things. I always say, people say, oh, I wish I had 48-hour days. I don't know if you ever heard that, but a lot of people tell me that. And I say, well, we all have 48-hour days. It's called today and tomorrow. You just spread things out over 48 hours, whatever you need to. If you need 48 hours, you have 48 hours. We have 72-hour days if we want to. It doesn't matter. The reason we say yes to things, we need to find, that's the thing. We need to realize, why are we saying yes to so many things? And what are the things that are really important to us? The first assessment is there.
So how do you decide what is important to say yes to and what you should say no to? Are there any... I know it can be very specific depending on the thing that you're asked to do, but do you have any rules of thumbs, any process that you use to decide whether do I want to do this or I don't want to do this?
Okay, when somebody asks me to do something, the default response is no. So
that's a good start.
You start saying no automatically, unless it's something that's really exciting and you really want to do it. So just start saying no before you say. Some people automatically say yes, and then they go like, oh, I said yes, but I didn't know how to get out of it now, and you wish you had said no, and some things I understand, even things that and find yourself into situations that you may learn something from that. I'm not saying that we should only do the things that we enjoy. Sometimes we have to do some things, and it's good that we say yes even to things that we don't love. But most of the times we say yes because we want to be liked, we want to be helpful, we want to be, it's family, or it's a good friend, or, it comes from, emotional triggers that cause us to be available, so much. And so we need to learn to say, no, I have to think about it. I have to look at it. I have to look at my diary. I have to see, I have to check, just whatever it is, but don't say yes right away. You can always come back with a yes tomorrow or later. So and the other thing is, like, if you say yes absolutely, or say no absolutely. No faffing about. It's not, yeah, maybe, but, also because the person needs to know, are you in it or you're not? And it's respectful to them to say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time to do this. So I'm sorry, I can't work with you on this, or I can't be there for that thing. And at least they know they can find somebody else. But if I say yes, it's going to be yes 100%, and I'm totally with it, which means then I'm also enjoying it and putting myself into it and making it as good as I can make it.
Yeah, there's nothing that I hate more than people who say yes to me and then they just disappear because they really meant to say no, or didn't think about it, and then realized that the commitment was too high. They didn't really have the time. So,
when we first talked about these podcasts, and I said, well, let's think about it. And I went back and thought about it, and I thought, okay, how much time are we going to need to do this? Am I willing to put aside this time? What is it going to be? We discussed how we're going to do it so that it wouldn't be a huge time waster for either of us, and that the time that we spend on this would be optimized to bring the best possible content and value, and also, we have fun, and it's nice to see each other. We get to know each other better. It's a nice thing. So I'm glad I said yes, and I'm fully in it. But otherwise I would have said, you know what, maybe in 6 months' time. Sometimes you have to defer to another time if it's too busy, if you don't have the time to do it. And so it's really important to really say yes and no, and learn to do that. And that's once you start doing that, a lot of things you realize you don't have to do.
Yeah, in my case, I think I have a tendency to say yes too much to myself. The way it works is I need to achieve something, some goal, right? For example, I need to sell one of my tours or workshops or something. And I realized that in order to do that, I need to do a certain set of activities. I need to market that workshop. I need to maybe create some content like blog posts or videos that talk about the topics that will be treated during that workshop. So I raise interest and curiosity about this thing and so on. And maybe there's going to be I can write a blog post for a guest blog post for some site, and all helping me reach a specific goal. And I always come up with new ideas of things that I could do to make it, for instance, to better my marketing activities or to improve my skills. I want to learn how to shoot perfect portraits. And then I say, okay, I have this course, I have this book, I have these videos that I want to watch, and so on and so forth. So I never say no to myself. Whenever an idea pops up in my mind, sometimes I'm like a little volcano, and I could do this to make it easier to achieve my goal, then I will put this on my to-do list, which then ends up being never-ending. So to me, it's much harder to say yes to myself than it is to say yes to other people in the end. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Yeah, well, I'm also, I get a lot of ideas, and I spend time in the morning. I usually work for about 2 hours in the morning before I even open my laptop or my phone or anything. just writing and writing. and usually a lot of stuff comes out of there, ideas and new projects and how to, the steps towards these new projects and stuff. So all that comes out, but then it's down on paper. And then I know that I can pick that up at the right time, put it in and say, like, next week, I am starting a new group of people who've been through my courses, for instance. So in the past few days, I had the idea of, what to call it, how to structure it, what to do in it, and why. And I put it all down on paper. I don't need to keep that in my head, and I don't need to work at it right now. I set out a brief to get the designer to do the banner for it. Until that's ready, I'm not doing anything. And then next week, I'm going to be working on it, and it's scheduled for next week. So next week is the week when I set this up and start it. And it's next week. I don't have to worry about it now. I don't have to spend a minute thinking about it now, except maybe I'm doing shopping or out, and I get an idea, and I can come back and add it to that, the papers that deal with that project. So because I have ADHD, I look at squirrels and I go after squirrels. I'm talking to you about this, and I look around and I see something else and I go, ooh, and I stand up and I forget I have headphones on and we're talking, and I can do that. So for me, it's very hard to keep focused, and I learned to do deep work. We'll talk about this as well because that's important. We'll do one on that, and but everybody has a way, can find a way to take the work we need to do and compartmentalize it so that we have it scheduled according to the time that it takes to do. For instance, every task, I put a time next to it. So I know that even if I have a to-do list of many things, but they're 10-minute things, it's okay. If they are 2-hour things, they can't go on the same day because they're not going to get done. So that helps too, to see what I have to do.
Another thing that it's really hard for me is prioritizing things. And if I have a number of things to do, even if I say, okay, I try to organize my time and say, today I need to do these things, then they're really important. And I know that they're going to take me so much time and so on. They don't have a priority. I don't know where to start. And the psychological effect that this causes in me is that I don't start any of those. Say, do I start this or that or that? And while I think about it, an hour has passed while I was checking Facebook or checking email, doing silly things and trying to garner the inspiration to start doing at least one of those things. I don't know. It's really, I really struggle at this.
Well, we could talk for another whole podcast on how, prioritizing and setting a schedule. But one thing that I found really helpful is I have one project that takes more than a day, like a bigger project. Say you want to, redo your website or write a book or start shooting or whatever, do a body of work that is bigger, that would take, 1 or 2 weeks of time or more than one session of work to get it done. So that gets spread out, say, over 2 weeks for a chunk of time every day. And so if I don't say I'm going to do my website and it's going to be the next 3 days I'm working on the website, A, because I get bored to death, B, because we don't have 3 days that we can just forget about everything else to work on the website. So that's never going to happen. The website is going to sit there until I have, a free day to do it? Not going to happen. But if I say, okay, every day I'm going to spend an hour on my website, that is something that elevates my work, my business or whatever. It's not a priority today. It's not urgent, but it's important. And working on important things that are not urgent is what keeps us from getting, into crisis mode all the time. So I can say, that's my priority. That's an hour a day on that. And then I pick 3 things to do every day. 3 things. If I get more done, fine. But if I don't have done 3 things, and if it's a bad day, because I have meetings or I'm shooting or stuff, it could be 3 phone calls. or 3 emails, small things, but it's the sense of accomplishment. I've also started to do not a to-do list, but a to-done list, I call it. A to-done list is a piece of paper where I write down everything I've done today. Okay, so this morning I did this, and that, and then now I'm doing this, and then the other things I do today. When we do a to-do list, then we never finish it, because usually we make them longer than is possible humanly in a day. Most of the times I don't cross it all out. We're always, you end the day and you have things undone on your to-do list that you have to move to tomorrow or another day. And that is okay. I allow myself to do that, of course. Flexibility, great. But subconsciously, you have an idea that you haven't finished. You haven't done enough. There's a subconscious feeling of, I'm still behind, right? If you do a to-done list and you write down everything you've done today, at the end of the day, you actually realize the amount of things you've done. And you go like, whoa, pat on the back. This was a good day. Yeah, there's a couple of things you haven't finished, but it doesn't matter. You see that on paper. It is incredibly powerful to kind of make you feel. And the more you feel empowered to do, the more you're going to do in less time and with better spirit as well, because we feel better when we think, I got this. I can do this. Yeah, no problem. Rather than, oh my God, look at all the stuff I need to do today. How am I going to get there? Where am I going to start? Oh God, yeah. I don't want to be like that.
No. I think that's great advice. I don't write physically down what I've done in a day, but I realize sometimes I take the time to reflect on what I've done, even mentally. I think it's been a good day. I've created 1 page for the site. I've written an email to go out to my list. I've contacted this person. And to me, that's a good day, because I was able. Maybe I need to do it every day systematically. Just get a piece of paper, a little diary, and write down the accomplishment.
Because some things you don't remember doing.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, I've changed the batteries in the smoke alarm or something that is not work related, but it's something that needed to be done and it's been kind of flashing at me for days, you've done it. Stick it on your list. There's so many things that we do during the day that we don't give ourselves credit for. Yeah. It's all time, given to the family or given to whoever will benefit from this time we spend. And it's important that we are the first ones to acknowledge it.
Yeah, that feeling where you're almost at the end of the day, maybe, or even at the end of the day, and you think you have not accomplished anything, and even if you're just spun around for 8-10 hours, and you feel, I haven't accomplished anything today, that's terrible. Because then you feel guilty. And you feel guilty, you sit even longer at your desk, trying to think, what could I do now? If you spend a little time thinking of the things that you actually did, just write them down. You might have forgotten that telephone call that might turn out to be very important. It might only have taken you 10 minutes, but that's an accomplishment. Write it down, and you will probably avoid that dreadful feeling of not having accomplished anything on any given day. That's
absolutely. No, it's amazing how many things you see when you start writing down what you've done today and how much better you feel, even if you have not done everything that you were hoping and planning to do. But it also gives you a sense of scale of where you're at and how long it takes you to do things. And I aim to work 4 hours a day, no more. And by work, but I then work 20 hours a day if you want to, because to me, reading time and writing down ideas time and thinking time, it's all work. It's all part of my work. My creative process is just as important as typing it out or actually doing accounts or something, which thankfully I've farmed out to somebody else. But, some things, that is another thing. There's so many things we don't need to do ourselves. What can we give out to someone else to do, whether it's in our job or in our family, or in our, and I know some people really think I got to do this myself, but even as a mother, I would ask my girls to do something. Yes, they would not do it perfectly, but they would learn to do it. And most mothers, for instance, say, oh God, if they do that, then I have to do it all again myself because it's not done right. But that is not, that is ego coming in there, perfectionism and all this kind of stuff. And we're not helping our daughters or our sons. Why shouldn't my son? I don't have a son, but if I did, he would definitely learn how to iron his own shirts and all that. Why not? So all of these things, these are little things, but they free us with the time that we can go off and play bass, like, I like to do, or learn a language, or, work on our body of work of the things that we love to do. And we also have a thing. This is the last, and then I'm going to shut up for a minute.
It's okay.
We have a thing about if we do something that is pleasant, then we don't do it because we feel guilty about it. Maybe we have a job and we want to take photos, or maybe we are photographers and we want to work on our own project, or we want to do something that is not work related. It's not, necessarily bringing in money. And we feel that we can only do that in inverted commas, leisure time or spare time. But spare time never comes by itself unless you have the time, you make time. You don't, manage time. You make time for what you want to do. So because things will take as much time as you will allow it to, that's another principle. If I have an hour to do an article, I will do it in an hour. If I have 4 hours, it's going to take me 4 hours. So I like to put myself under very strict deadlines sometimes and hear them swoosh by. But we try. And so we feel like, before I can do that, I have to finish everything else because otherwise I can't allow myself this kind of privilege of going off to do the fun thing, But the fun thing for us is vital. If we don't have fun things, we don't have creativity, we don't get to the next level, we don't get ideas, and bit by bit we kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And so that fun thing needs to be part of our schedule as well.
Okay, good. I think we've been chatting for, I think it's all been almost half an hour, so we don't want to...
I get carried away.
That's okay. I mean,
we don't want to waste anybody's time.
I think that's been very productive instead. I mean, I loved our conversation as always, but we're just trying to keep these episodes easily consumable, right? Bite-sized, so don't go rambling for too long. So I think we should just wrap this episode up. Maybe defer the treatment of time management, or you don't like to call it time management, or whatever you want to call it, to a future episode where we go maybe more in depth about the issues of time and making time, making work,
making time. Work. Yes, and it'd be nice if our listeners would put their spin on this and see what they think about it, and just put it in the comments. And what are the things that you do, that they do, to optimize time and to get things done, and what are the tricks that work for them? Everybody has their own, and we can all share them.
Yeah, I would love to hear if somebody has tried to manage time to get over being overwhelmed, and what works and what doesn't for you.
Yeah, breathe deeply. That's already much better.
As always, you can find this episode at closingthegap.live, together with all the other ones. There's and under every episode, there's a little comments section. You can leave us your comments there, and we also have a little button where you can even record your opinion, or you can record the question. Let us know what you think. Just send us your voice, and if it's if something interesting, we'll listen to it during one of the future episodes, and we'll try to answer your questions as best as we can. So keep those questions coming. We love them.
That's fun.
All right.
Yeah, that's fun. Keep on coming. Right.
Till next time. Take care.
Yes.
Take your time to do the things you love.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.